Against a heavy backspin serve, if you chop straight down, the ball will definitely end up in the net. But if I use a slight arc in my racket path, I can push back even the heaviest spin without being affected by it. Let's cover the forehand short return, starting with your footwork. For your ready position, avoid standing too close to the table. You need to be able to cover a long serve to your backhand corner. Your standard ready position should be on the backhand side, about an arm's length from the end line. Ideally, you should reach the ball in a single step. However, if one step is difficult, take a small step with your left foot towards the center, then step in with your right foot. After you step in, you must lower your center of gravity. Your chest should always be facing the table. If your chest faces the opponent, you won't be able to reach the short ball even if your foot is in position. A common mistake for amateur players is moving their feet without shifting their body weight. Getting your center of gravity forward is the most critical part. This applies to receiving short forehands and wide backhand short balls. Your center of gravity must follow your footwork. Wherever your foot lands, your body weight must follow. If you only move your foot but not your weight, it's ineffective. You'll end up reaching and making a weak contact. Without your weight behind the shot, your stroke will have no forward momentum. This causes you to be vulnerable to the spin. However, if your weight is forward, a simple forward push with the forearm is enough. It's all connected to your center of gravity. When moving to the forehand, your right foot must land inside the forehand court area. If your foot stays in the middle or on the backhand side, you won't be able to cover wide forehand serves, especially sidespin from a lefty. So, your right foot must step into the forehand side to properly cover those serves. Get used to taking a large step with your right foot, whether moving sideways or forward. Make your steps bigger. Second, let's talk about the hand action, how to achieve both quality and consistency. The key to handling short balls is to get extremely close to the point of contact. The less space between you and the ball, the more power you can generate. For example, when executing a fast long push. The same applies to the flick. To do an aggressive flick, you must be close to the ball. The closer you are, the more confident your stroke. If you are too far away, you will hesitate and just end up poking at the ball. So what does it mean to be close? Only when your center of gravity is forward can your hand reach deep into the table. This way, no matter how short or tricky the serve is, you can reach it. In difficult situations with a wide ball, you can straighten your arm to push. But don't stop your motion immediately on contact. If you feel you can't reach and just jab at the ball, you'll definitely mishandle the spin. Therefore, the heavier the spin, the more you need to guide the ball forward to prevent it from going into the net. You can use your forearm to extend the ball's trajectory, making it less likely to hit the net. Against a no-spin or light spin serve, your stroke must be short and crisp. Against heavy spin, you must follow through. For short balls with heavy backspin, you must extend your forearm forward, or the spin will pull the ball down. Conversely, if you use a long follow-through on a no-spin ball, it will go long. For no-spin balls, use a compact motion with a burst of energy. A push is a defensive, transitional shot with limited threat, so you must use placement to win the point. We'll first learn how to execute a spinny, long push down the line. When I push, I always aim for the white tape on top of the net. I use my stroke to send the ball on a trajectory that just clears that white tape. You might think aiming for the tape will cause you to hit the net, but players naturally add a margin of safety, ensuring the ball goes over. Whether the serve is spinny or not, I aim for the white tape. Use it as a height reference to avoid popping the ball up or hitting the net. Second, how do you execute this long push? Pushing the very back of the ball is the easiest way to make an error. When I push down the line, I'm actually contacting the ball slightly to the left of center. Contacting the direct back of the ball is very risky on service return, so try to contact it slightly off center, to the left or right. Second point, for my long push down the line, my motion is downwards, not sideways. I focus on generating spin, primarily with a downward chopping motion. Many players contact the back of the ball and then scoop with the wrist, which causes the ball to go into the net. The correct forearm angle is simple: start with your forearm level, then move downwards. Amateur players often do the opposite, they start low and finish level, which results in a high, easy ball for the opponent. Start level, then move down. This also allows you to use the lower half of your paddle face for contact. The fourth key point, notice that I generate force with the head of the racket. My motion is this: the initial contact is on the middle to lower part of the ball. Then the racket wraps around to the bottom. As I push to the side, the racket head makes a slight rotation. This is because against a heavy backspin serve, a straight up and down chopping motion will certainly put the ball in the net. But if I use a slight arc in my racket path, I can push back even the heaviest spin without being affected by it. If you chop straight down, you can't brush the bottom of the ball, so any spinny serve will go into the net. When I rotate the racket head, I am essentially scooping the bottom of the ball. No matter how much spin he puts on it, by rotating my racket head, I can always push the ball back over. Let me demonstrate. When opponents serve spin, you can't just passively lift it. A high return will be smashed. That's a classic tactic. A straight chop only works against light spin. By rotating the racket head to contact the lower part and scoop the bottom, you can handle heavy spin. So, for this shot, don't just chop straight down. Let the racket head rotate. Once you master this, your push down the line will be lethal. This is my secret weapon for pushing. To handle heavy backspin, first contact the middle to lower part of the ball to control the trajectory, then brush the very bottom to prevent netting, and finally push forward to execute a long, spinny push. This one shot has a triple safety mechanism: it stays low, neutralizes the opponent's spin, and adds your own. This is different from a side push, which primarily uses the forearm to push sideways. What I'm teaching is a forward and downward motion, but using the racket head to brush the ball in sequence: middle bottom, bottom, then side bottom. For penhold players, this technique will generate even more spin. Let me demonstrate. Let me teach you another secret weapon for the short forehand corner. When your opponent serves short to your forehand, preparing to attack your return, you can use this technique. The motion for this push is the exact opposite of the one we just learned for pushing down the line. The contact point is on the right side of the ball. If you push forward on the right side, you're very susceptible to the spin. The push down the line technique I just taught you used a level, then down motion. So for this short push to the forehand wide angle, the motion is no longer level and down. Instead, you will withdraw and then extend your forearm, similar to a hook serve motion. Retract, then extend. When you brush the side of the ball, you can handle even the heaviest spin. Just by brushing the ball sideways, I can neutralize any amount of spin. Brushing the side of the ball allows you to avoid the strongest part of the incoming spin. So, the forearm action should be a horizontal retraction and extension. This is the key. Here's how the friction is generated. You retract your arm, make contact, and then brush sideways. This shot will curve even more after it bounces. Trust me, if you only practice pushing straight, you will make many errors in a real match. This technique is incredibly useful in doubles. Your opponent serves short, and before the next player can react, you've already pushed it wide. You can even use it against a long, fast underspin serve. The mindset shouldn't be to aggressively chop the ball, but to graze it downwards and to the side. Amateur players typically have slower reactions and footwork. So with this return, even if your opponent anticipates it, their attack won't be very strong. Just be ready to block the next shot. If they start cheating to that side, you can switch back to the long push down the line to wrong foot them. This shot is created by letting the racket contact the middle lower part of the ball, and after retracting the forearm, accelerating downwards and sideways. Let me show you a few more. This return has a very low and dead bounce. The reason it's so consistent is because you are brushing the ball, not chopping it. When you brush it correctly, the ball will kick sideways off the table, which is very difficult to handle. This is like a lefty serving to your short forehand. Once you master the returns to short forehands, your opponent won't dare serve short, simplifying your game plan. Don't just passively poke at the ball. At first, you'll make mistakes with the power, racket angle, and direction. But with practice, anyone can master this, including penholders. One final key point: for any push, especially on the forehand side, pay close attention to your racket angle. Many amateur players use a racket angle that is too open, which causes the ball to pop up no matter what technique they use. Hitting the net is often caused by making contact at the end of your stroke or by misjudging your positioning. If you make solid contact, as long as you extend your forearm, the ball won't go into the net. For the wide push, I extend my forearm sideways. For the push down the line, I extend it downwards. Many players hit the net because their motion is incomplete and lacks power. The ball's trajectory is created by your stroke. Don't pull back the moment you touch the ball as if it's hot. You must extend your forearm through the shot. Therefore, when you step in for a forehand push, your racket angle must be relatively closed, otherwise the ball will go high. First, get your center of gravity forward. This allows your hand to be close to the ball at the start of the stroke. Second, with a closed racket angle, don't just chop straight down. Extend your forearm forward and then down to give the ball sufficient length. If I only chop down, the ball will be too short and hit the net. So, we must use the forearm to push forward and then chop down. This is how I ensure the ball clears the net. Keep your racket angle slightly closed. Don't open it up because you're afraid of the net. An open racket will lead to an error or an easy kill for your opponent.